And everyone together. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Suravangsha Jayate.
Surya Vansha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
Om Hari Om. Very good. Wonderful. Namaste, everyone. It is absolutely my pleasure to be here with you today on this Sunday at 2 p.m. Vedic Heartland time. And what we're going to be doing today is something a little bit different. I'm going to be giving a talk that will be a very practical talk. It's titled Having a Dharma Lifestyle Today. And I want this to be a very practical talk, and I will try to save some time, some room for questions and answers. And that being the case, I especially hope that today people will ask questions dealing with, again, very, very practical things. How to live a Dharma lifestyle today, in this day and age. So that being the case, before we dive into this, just a few things that I want to say first very, very quickly. All done back there? All right. Just to let people in the audience know, everyone's laughing because one of our students here decided that she had to have a Zevia, which is a healthy sugar-free, I believe it's a Zevia, healthy sugar-free soda. So she's trying to open it very quietly, but everyone here is chuckling because you can't open a can of soda quietly. Plus, you shouldn't be drinking a can of soda right now, but that's all right. We have a very laid back, believe it or not, we have a very loving, very laid back atmosphere here in our temple among our devotees. But that's why everyone's chuckling here. But getting back now to what I was saying. Yeah, just a few very quick announcements and just some very general announcements. First and foremost, again, I want to thank everyone for being here. We have an audience of devotees here in our temple. And I'm always somewhat tempted to take the camera and turn it around, but I like to respect people's privacy, so I won't do that. But we also, of course, have people here from all over the world who are watching live right now on YouTube. So first of all, I want to thank you all for being here. And especially for those of you who are watching online, one way in which you can help the live stream right now is to please spread the link. And you can do it right now. It's not too late, actually. Any social media that you're on, and I can't mention them all because there are too many these days. If you're on Facebook, if you're on X, what is now called X, if you're on Gab, if you're on Telegram, any place where you have social media, please take the link and put it on there right now so that others will know that we're doing our live stream right now and they'll be able to come and benefit. The other thing I want to say is that when you can, please visit our website, dharmacentral.com. And what you will see is that it is aptly named Dharma Central. It has all the information that you will need to begin your journey on the path of Sanatana Dharma. We have our books that are available there. We have links to many of our videos. We have a few articles. We have many, many things that are available on there. So please visit there when you have a chance. When you are on there, I would ask very humbly that you please consider also giving a donation to this nonprofit religious movement, and that is what is being presented to you right now. This is not just a stream. This is not anything like much of what you will see on YouTube. The International Sanatana Dharma Society is what is called a 501c3 registered non-profit religious organization and movement. That being the case, please feel free to make either a one-time donation or, truthfully, even better, if you can become a member, a monthly tithing member of the ISDS. That is something that would be tremendously helpful to us in so many ways. All of our members would very much appreciate you joining their ranks, because it helps us to continue with all the many projects that we are currently working on. The other last thing that I want to say is that we indeed have a Discord forum. I haven't mentioned this in recent weeks, but we have a truly vibrant, wonderful community on Discord of many hundreds of serious ISDS devotees. Not all of our devotees are on the Discord forum. I sometimes have to remind people of that. A minority are, because not everyone, even today, knows what Discord is. But many of our devotees are on there, and there is, again, vibrant discussion that takes place 24/7. If you have further questions that you want to ask about Sanatana Dharma, that is the place to go. So hopefully at some point, I'm sure someone will, indeed someone just has put the link up to Discord. Please feel free to join that. And those are my announcements. Now to jump into the talk for today. When it comes to Sanatana Dharma, of course, the approach that many people take tends to be, as it should be, one in which individuals will approach Sanatana Dharma by studying the scriptures, by studying the philosophy, indeed by attempting to, and in many cases very successfully, doing the sadhana, etc. These are, of course, indeed the most important aspects of Sanatana Dharma. This is the heart of Sanatana Dharma, is practice. However, it is also important to realize that especially today in 2024, and for individuals who, again, especially live in the West, that is, individuals who live in North America, or South America, who live in Europe, Australasia, etc., it's very important to also understand that Sanatana Dharma is a path that, while certainly steeped in very deep spiritual ideals, is something that is meant to be and that can be practiced practically today. Now, what is the differentiation between, individuals, let's say, trying to practice Sanatana Dharma in their life as a lifestyle, let's say 6,000 years ago in the Dvapara Yuga versus today? Well, we know what the differences are. That today there are challenges the likes of which people in ancient times couldn't even imagine. There have always been challenges. That's the nature of the material world. That should be the nickname of the material world, that place of challenges. So we know that. But today especially, there are challenges, many of which people did not experience in ancient times. People had to work, but they didn't have 9-to-5 jobs working in a cubicle. People had entertainment. We know this is the case in Greco-Roman times. People had theater. This was true in Vedic times. But people were not bombarded 24/7 with brainless, mindless, meaningless, propagandistic entertainment, the likes of which we are bombarded with today. And I can go on and on and on. There are challenges today that didn't exist. As far as even relationship, and relationship, generally speaking, relationship, certainly, let's say, between man and woman, but all relationship with our neighbors, relationship with children, relationship with everyone. There are challenges today that did not exist in the past. So thus, indeed, this is the question. How are we today, given all these challenges, to have a lifestyle of Sanatana Dharma? And indeed, let me go just slightly deeper into this before I jump into the substance, the true substance of the talk. When it comes to the idea of practicing Sanatana Dharma, interestingly, indeed, people tend to think of practicing in a very idealistic way, and sometimes, interestingly, in a non-realistic sort of way. So in other words, let me explain what I mean by this. When people think, oh yes, yes, I want to adopt Sanatana Dharma and begin practicing it. Understandably, but unfortunately, what do a lot of people think? Oh, this means, yes, I'm going to be now a full-time yogi and live somewhere in some ashram or in a cave or in a temple or this and that, and I'm going to be practicing 24 hours a day. Now, such enthusiasm is understood and appreciated. You know, it's good to be enthusiastic, but it's not realistic. What I'm going to be talking about today is, no, not this, again, kind of fantasy that many people have, but the down-to-earth reality. Oh, here I am. I'm living somewhere in America or Europe. I have a job that I barely like. You know, I am not very happy with the world because I understand how the world functions. I understand that we're living in a radically secular, almost anti-human, certainly anti-God sort of age, and yet I wish to live my life in the opposite sort of way. And everything around me is trying to convince me to purchase and purchase and purchase and buy and buy and buy. And I see corruption all around me, and yet I want to live a life of meaning. My talk today is for that person who's living in the world as a real person. Again, not a pipe dream, not someone living in their parents' basement fantasizing about, oh yes, I'm a yogi. No, someone who has a real job, someone who wants to actually be in this world. They're not materialistic, they're not greedy, but oh yes, they would like to have some success in this world. They would like to have a career that they actually enjoy, ideally. At least not a career that they can't stand, at least something that would be nice, that they can actually enjoy. They would like to have a healthy relationship. They would like to make their mark in this world, while at the same time, simultaneously having God in the center of their life. This is the typical individual, and more importantly, this is the typical sort of individual who we have found coming to the ISDS and who will mark the future of Sanatana Dharma. That is someone who, oh, they want to have God consciousness. They want to have God in the center of everything they're doing, but they also want to build something beautiful in this world. So that's who this talk is for. Now, all that being said, again, let me get back very quickly to the stereotypes. It is indeed unfortunate, and I am sadly, I don't say this with pride, on the contrary, it's sad. In fact, I will challenge other gurus out there to begin doing what I'm about to say. I am one of the few gurus who indeed speaks about Sanatana Dharma in a very practical way. You listen to a lot of other gurus, and indeed they kind of give you this stereotyped impression. Oh, yes, 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 you know, aspire to just leave, drop out of school, leave so-called materialism behind, including, oh, having a family, etc., move into my ashram and do karma yoga for 15 hours a day, etc. And again, not realistic. Not realistic. So I'm one of the few people who speaks about this stereotype. A lot of people have the mistaken idea that Sanatana Dharma itself is an ideology, is a philosophy, is a worldview that encourages people to be impractical, to live in this kind of fantasy. And no, on the contrary, this is not Sanatana Dharma as it was practiced for millions of years before this date. Because trust me, Sanatana Dharma is not 5,000 years old. It has been practiced by human beings for millions of years. And the way that it was practiced was practically, where indeed, rather than saying one or the other, oh, I'm a rampant materialist who just wants to please my senses on the one hand, or I am a yogi living in a cave on the other, and there is no touching of the two, that was never the case in Sanatana Dharma. How do we know this? How do I prove this to you? I don't need to prove it to you. Prove it to yourself. Pick up what's called the Vedic scriptures and read yourself. Read. How many people today even read? A lot of people like to blather about Bhagavad Gita, this and that. Yeah. How many people have read the totality of the Mahabharata? There are several translations, one of which is 12 volumes. I read that in graduate school, all 12 volumes. There's the Ramayana, which is enormous. There are the Puranas. And there are many other scriptures where it describes exactly what Vedic culture Vedic civilization and the Vedic lifestyle was like 5,000 years ago. Actually, more than that, like 6,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, a million, 1.7 million, etc., etc., etc. We know what the Vedic lifestyle was like all throughout the yugas, from Satya to Treta to Dvapara to now the Kali Yuga. And what do we see? Again, none of the stereotypes. What we see is that the perfect Vedic lifestyle is one in which examine what Vedic civilization and what Vedic cities were like. Again, just read the scriptures. There's also archaeological evidence. There's all sorts of evidence. What will you see? You will see temples that are built to the point of such beauty, of such architectural and engineering precision, the likes of which the very greatest engineers today, forget about duplicating. In some cases, they can't figure out how it was done. Even with their fastest computers helping them, even with their AI helping them. Some ancient temples that are thousands of years old, that are still standing, they were built with the idea of such beauty that we can't match them today. We understand that people in a Vedic culture, they don't dress like paupers. They dress beautifully. They wore jewelry, the men and the women. We know that these people appreciated art in every form. And again, we're talking about Vedic civilization of 100,000, a million years ago. They appreciated music, and they would compose and listen to music, the likes of which, again, our greatest composers, and I know music, I love classical, I love Bach, I love Vivaldi, I love so much Baroque music, so many of these different styles of music. I love it. It pales to insignificance compared to the sorts of Vedic music that people listened to 100,000, let's say, years ago, and on and on and on. And what else? So actually, let me finish with this. The point is, in actual Vedic civilization, people appreciated beauty, they appreciated prosperity, they appreciated order, they appreciated science, real science, not modern atheistic scientism, but true science, etc., etc., etc. In other words, they were not, quote unquote, life negating, as a lot of fraudulent, dishonest Indologists would say in the 19th century. Oh yes, these Hindus are life-negating people. They reject the world. Nonsense. We perfect the world. We don't reject the world. We perfect the world in accordance with Dharma. As a result of this, what have we seen of, again, true Vedic culture and the Vedic lifestyle? We celebrate the quote-unquote material and the spiritual at the same time. Now, having said all this, talking about the more material aspects of Vedic culture, at the same time, what also do we see? What do we see when we read the Vedic scriptures and we see what Vedic civilization actually was like? That on the one hand, yes, again, people made the absolute, not just most, they perfected the material world around them on the one hand, but also everyone in a Vedic civilization lived in accordance with virtue and morality and ethics. These were high trust societies. These were, perfect trust societies, where you knew your neighbors and you trusted your neighbors practically with your life because you understood. Why? Because in the same way that you had God in the center of your life, most, if not all, of your neighbors attempted to do the same thing. So you understood that you were living in a society in which, materiality was brought to its perfection on the one hand, but on the other hand, spirituality also was at least attempted to bring to its perfection. People lived spiritual lifestyles. So what did this mean? Every single household, every single individual of every single household tried to live their lives in such a way that, again, they had God in the center. Now, I've said that several times. What does that mean? What does that look like? And later I'm going to go more deeply into this when we get to the truly practical aspects of living a Dharmic lifestyle. This is just introductory. Everything I'm saying right now is just introduction. What did this mean that they had God in the center? It meant that to the best of their ability as individuals, because individuals are just that, they're all different, but to the best of their ability, individuals in a perfect Vedic society would do their best to surround themselves with a spiritual environment. That meant both internally and externally. That meant both within their very home, but also in the city itself. It meant from the top down that the king was someone who was the priest of God, that the king was someone whose sole duty really was to uphold Dharma, and everything was an extension of that. Economic policy, political policy, laws, etc., was an extension of this one desire and duty of the king to uphold Dharma. So from the king to then society around you. So again, as I said, you looked at Vedic society, there was sattvic, spiritual beauty all around you, designed in such a way as to give you remembrance, smaranam, of God. Then within one's home, the idea is that the family steeped themselves in spirituality every moment that they could, when they weren't doing the practical things, when they weren't doing their job or cleaning the house or taking care of the children, etc., etc. When they weren't doing the practical things, you do your best to surround yourself with good, to do good things. You do puja, you meditate, etc., etc. You even go out into nature. People took walks back then just like they do now. People appreciated nature. But the mentality was so different. The mentality was so different that in the past, again, in a Vedic lifestyle, the idea is that when you go into nature, you understand that you're going into a separate domain, and there are sacred beings who live in that domain. And you do your best to travel within that domain respectfully and in such a way that you do so in communion with these beings and in harmony with these beings, and on and on and on. I can continue to go on in this way. But this is the point, is that in a Vedic society, there is a balance between the spiritual and the material. That spiritual enlightenment and virtue were coupled with success, prosperity, and cultural excellence in every way. Not one or the other, but both together were there, the spiritual and the material. Now, having said that, let me say that living a Dharmic lifestyle is something that pertains, and this is where again some more stereotypes come in, not merely to the past and not merely to a specific place. So again, this is not something where necessarily I've been talking about the past a little bit because there are no real Vedic civilizations today. There were in the past, indeed, at one time on this Earth planet, on Bhudevi, on Bhumi Loka, on this Earth planet. At one time, there were nothing but Vedic civilizations, and throughout the totality of the world. But still, we're talking about something that does not pertain merely to some historical period or even to a place. So some people, of course, will make the mistake of saying, yes, to live a Dharmic lifestyle, you can only do this in India. No, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. On the contrary, many Indians themselves bemoan the fact that India became so materialistic throughout the 20th and 21st century that actually, no, it's just as conducive to have a Vedic lifestyle living in America, living in Europe, living almost anywhere, actually. This is not something that pertains to a specific geographic location, but actually a Vedic lifestyle, a Dharmic lifestyle, can be lived anywhere. Indeed, here where we have our temple in Omaha, Nebraska, we even call this the Vedic heartland because we have a community of individuals here attempting to live a Vedic lifestyle, a Dharmic lifestyle, and doing so very happily. Indeed, that's why we have a temple with devotees here. And again, time-wise, it is not only possible, it is extremely doable, and it is necessary to live a Dharma lifestyle today in 2024. So this can indeed be done. It can indeed be done. Now, having said that, what is the very foundation of what it means to have a Vedic lifestyle? Let me talk about this for a moment, and I'm going to talk about this very bluntly. Sanatana Dharma is such a rational, such a purely scientific, again, in the true sense of that term, that is, that things must make sense. They must be empirically verifiable, they must be common sense, they must be verifiable in accordance with the teachings of higher authorities, scriptures, acharyas, etc., etc., to the point where everyone is taken into account. So in other words, it's always understood that there will be single people in the world. We know this. Indeed, it's encouraged that in the beginning of life, as one is a brahmachari, brahmacharini, an individual is single, much later in life. And this is not so much for the Kali Yuga so much anymore, according to the scriptures, but we're talking about in the past, much later in life. Again, an individual becomes single. They become what's called a sannyasi. But again, this is not practiced today in accordance with the scriptures, but in previous yugas. But also the very foundation of Vedic culture and civilization and the Vedic lifestyle is the family. And this is true universally. We know that in any given society, you'll have individuals who are single in the beginning of life, much later. There are some individuals who even choose to be single throughout their life. That is perfectly fine, and such people are not looked down upon. But at the same time, to have a civilization, we understand this, the bulk of the individuals must be married individuals, must be family. So this is why I've said this again and again and again, not just in talks, but in all of my books. The family and, the traditional, let me make this very clear. Not what you decide to concoct and call it a family. Let me get 3 robots and a horse and this one and that one together, and I'll call it a family. No. The traditional family that has been here since the beginning of time, that is understood practically universally in traditional cultures, is the very foundation of Vedic civilization and having a Vedic lifestyle, a Dharmic lifestyle. So it's for this reason that we encourage people to eventually indeed have a family. What does that mean? In accordance with whatever you can do. Certainly, if you can get married at some point, that is wonderful. That is something that is encouraged. We encourage people to get married. Again, it's not for everyone. No one is forced. And again, no one is looked down upon if they don't do this. No, that's perfectly fine. Indeed, there are some people, a small, tiny minority of individuals who do indeed choose to not get married, and so, for example, be brahmacharis, brahmacharinis for all of their life. That's perfectly fine. When it comes to Vedic culture, these are the 2 life paths that one can follow. One can choose to be celibate for the rest of their life, or they can be married. For those who do indeed choose to be celibate, let me make this clear, that represents less than 1% of the population. And I'm not talking about, celibate for 5 years. I'm talking about those individuals who, that's their lifestyle until they die. It's difficult. It's difficult. It was difficult several thousand years ago. Today, given all the insanity that we have around us, it's very difficult. So we know that 99% of people will follow this other path. That is, that they will eventually become married, have children, etc., etc. So this is indeed the foundation, the bedrock of Vedic civilization. And there never will be any changing of this. There is no force upon the face of the earth, not media, not government, not hidden hands of any kind whatsoever, that will ever change this. That family will always be the center of all things in Sanatana Dharma and in all civilization. Now, having said that, let me go on a little bit more. Also, again, given the fact that family is central, also, if in family people can have children as well, that's also very much encouraged. Very, very much. That's something alone I could talk about for a very, very long time. Both Vedically, but also as far as contemporary times. Again, it's not necessary to have children. If you don't, you're not looked down upon. Some people can't. Some people, just due to life circumstances don't. That's all right. But if and only if one has the choice and you can, you're younger, you just got married, let's say the husband is 25, the wife is 20. Oh, if at some point you want to consider having children and you can, you're very much encouraged to. We are encouraged to have children. Very good. So all that being said, I want to end this introduction to my talk, and this is all introduction so far. I haven't actually dived into the talk yet. But I want to end the introduction by quoting something from the Yajnavalkya Samhita. And this is a very nice verse, actually. Indeed, talking about not just the importance of having children, but why it's of importance. And truthfully, there are many reasons, but this goes to the heart of the issue. This is the metaphysical reason why it's important to have children. So let me read this. This is from Yajnavalkya Samhita, and it's from the 3rd chapter, and it's verse 218. And it is said here by Yajnavalkya, "Thereupon, having been cleansed of their sins, the yogis are born in a great family, gifted with learning, and possessed of abundant wealth and grains." Wealth and grains, and that's the translation, because it was understood, of course, what's meant by grains in the ancient world. Well, that just means food. That means food substance, just generally speaking. It's like code, so it sounds funny to our ears today, but it was understood. It didn't mean just grains. Didn't mean that, you had bowls of wheat all over your house. No, it meant food. But more importantly, what is this verse saying? What is Yajnavalkya himself saying? And he was a great rishi, he was a great yogi, he was a great seer, he was a Vedantist. He was an Upanishadic Vedantist. So I'm telling you all this just so you know this is not just anyone. Why does he say this? Who is he talking about? What he's talking about here, and it's part of a longer passage with several verses, but this was the essence of this passage. He's talking about yogis who come very close to perfecting themselves. They rid themselves of many, many sins. But they haven't achieved liberation yet. And before they can do that, they pass away and they're born again through reincarnation. What he's saying is that such yogis, due to their spiritual merit, they are born in such families. Let me read this little part again. They are born in a great family. In a great family. What's meant by this? Great meaning, great aristocrats. No, not necessarily. Great meaning, especially spiritually, as far as their personal merit, their excellence, their virtue, etc. In other words, yogis who pass away and then they're born again in a family are born in a family, the parents of which are the perfect parents that all of us wish we had. That's what's meant by this. They're born in a great family, and a family that is gifted with learning. How interesting. Here we bring together the spiritual and the material. They are gifted with learning. What does that mean? Again, it's interesting. If you understand the Vedic literature because you've read it all your life and you've read all of it, you understand this code word. Gifted with learning, meaning they are Brahmanas and they have learning that they acquired from the Vedas, from the Vedic scriptures. In other words, a family with spiritual wisdom on the one hand. But how does this end? And abundant wealth and grains. They are born in a great family who, they have wisdom because they are Brahmanas. They have themselves studied the Vedic scriptures. They have done yajna. They are spiritual people. But they have wealth. And again, the wording is very blunt. They have wealth. They have money. They have means. And abundant grains. In other words, you're not going to starve in this family. So again, that wedding, that coming together of the spiritual and the material. Now, this is the actual point of this from the perspective of the parents. Why should good people, especially, not just anyone, but why should good people aspire to have children? Because if you do, and you are a good person, it is a very good chance that that child will be someone special. Possibly even a yogi who, in his previous life, he didn't quite make it. He got close. but needs to be here a little bit longer. And for some reason, both karma, but also God's will, that child is born to you. That child is born to you. And now, that being the case, you have this greatest of responsibilities. That now, having this child born unto you, who knows who this child was? A great yogi, a great king, a great philosopher, someone truly amazing. This God, in accordance with, again, God, this child, in accordance with God's will, may have been a God, may have been quite literally a semi-divine being who now is born unto you, because that being has a mission in this world. Who knows? Who knows? But amazing to think about. And that is what this verse is saying by Yajnavalkya. Now, all that being said, let me check the time. We're doing good with time, actually. Now we're going to get into the practical aspects of having a Dharma lifestyle today. And again, very practical. To the point where this is practically sequential. We're going to look at a typical person's life, and throughout the trajectory of their life, what they can do to live dharmically. And again, what is meant by dharmically? We need to understand this once and for all. It means to have as spiritual a life as we can while having complete material success. Complete. What is meant by complete? That means excellence in accordance with who you are. It would look different for different people. But again, these two things coupled. Now, let's begin. First and foremost, step number one, you need to choose your career very wisely. So we're talking about adults already. Again, at this point, we're not talking about what you do as a child, because you're under your parents' home and you have to simply follow their guidance. We're talking about, okay, well, at this point, you are thinking as an adult, you're maybe a late teenager, something like this. Well, the first thing, of course, is that you need to think about your career. You need to think about what it is that you wish to do in life, and in such a way that it reflects you very nicely. Let me talk about this a little bit, actually. When it comes to employment, let's use this general umbrella sort of term. There are really three forms of employment that a person can engage in. And indeed, interestingly, some people will engage in all three, one, then another, then the last. First, there is a job. A job. What's a job? Nobody cares. What's a job? A job is what you do just for money. A job is something where, it might be fast food. It might be you're doing construction. It might be something where your sole goal in doing a job is to make money. And it's not something you necessarily enjoy doing. It's not something that you would dream of doing for the rest of your life, for 30, 40 years, or however long. It's just a way to make money. You go into the job, you do your 8 hours, you come back, and eventually you get a paycheck once a week, every other week, depending on where you are. And of course, almost everyone has had jobs like this, where it's not necessarily your career. Now, what is a career? This is number two. A career is not merely a job. A career is something which, and this is what we're talking about with this section, which you choose to do. Oh, you'll make money, certainly, but that's not necessarily your number one consideration in having a career. A career is something where, you know that this is the thing, this is the employment that you will have probably for the rest of your life, A. B, you will develop a certain skill set such that you will be good at that career, and it requires a specific skill set. What are some examples? 1,000 examples. Being an engineer, being a lawyer, etc., where it's a career. You're choosing this. You choose to learn the skills necessary to do this. You're doing this because you actually have an interest in it. You've chosen it. It's not, I need a job right now. I need a paycheck. Who's hiring? No. This is something that you've chosen long term to do. And it's something that, again, you hopefully enjoy. If you don't enjoy your career, you did something wrong. And that is the whole point of this. Choose your career wisely. Think about what is that employment that most fits with your psychophysical nature, with your svadharma, with your inner nature. That being the case, yes, then choose a career. Now, let me very quickly mention the third thing, the third form of employment, and this is for very few people, actually. That is having a mission. That is having a mission. So there are some people who have a job, just a quick thing to make money. They don't want to do it for the rest of their life. Then there's a career where, oh yes, they're going to make money, but it's something that also fits in with their nature. But then there's having a mission. And that's the rarest of individuals, who they will do that because it is their calling. It is their calling. They, in a way, almost have no choice but to do that because it is an expression of the very essence of who they are. And will they make money and be able to support themselves with that? Oh, yes, hopefully. And, truthfully, many people can, even if you have a calling. If you do it well and you know what you're doing, oh, you can support yourself. Will you become a millionaire? Oh, maybe, maybe not. But this is the important thing. It is a calling. You're doing it because your soul is telling you, this is what I must do. So, of course, we hear this term especially in religious circles. We hear of people who become religious leaders, nuns, monks, priests, etc. And they'll actually say, oh, I had a calling to do such and such. So that gives you an indication of this. So again, that's for the rarest of individuals. But for most people, oh yes, we have to have a career. So number one, think about this very carefully. Don't just stumble into something. Look at yourself first. Understand, number one, yourself. That being the case, that you understand what is my nature, what do I truly enjoy, not enjoy, what is that thing which, oh, when I'm doing it, I feel like it isn't even a job. That's your career. All right, now all that being said, step two. Step two is gain a practical education as soon as possible. Now, let me repeat this. Gain a practical education as soon as possible. What's meant by a practical education? First, again, understanding yourself, your likes, dislikes, etc. Understanding what is the career that you want to have. Understanding many other factors. Again, I can't go deeply into everything. Oh, how much money you want to make, etc., where you want to live, all these factors. Now gain a practical education. Now again, I'm using my words very carefully. By practical education, does this mean X degree? Oh, get a bachelor's, get a this, get a that. No, it means educate yourself in whatever is appropriate for your career. So for some people, what does that mean? Trade school. That's fine. That is your career. You have chosen, for some reason, when I'm welding, I am ecstatic. That's fine. That's good. Go to trade school. Learn how to weld. And from there to any other field that we can conceive of. Oh yes, in the career you're going to have, you need a PhD? Oh, get a PhD. You need, obviously, you need an MD, you need this, you need that. Get that degree. Again, you want to be an engineer. Oh, try to get a master's, MS, Master's of Science in Engineering. But this is the important thing. Do this, once you know what you want to do it as early as possible. Try not to wait too long. And truthfully, even if you are a little bit older, there are older students, that's fine, but it's a little bit more challenging. But gain an education as much as is possible. Third, choose a virtuous and traditionalist partner for a spouse at this point. And again, this is ideal. We're trying to do this logically, sequentially. So, all right, you figured out your life, number one. Number two, now you're gaining the skills and education necessary to now do that. Now, third, find a life partner because you want one. Again, unless you're that one out of whatever number of people who you're going to be celibate for the rest of your life. Truthfully, today, that's, one out of 50,000 people today, 1 out of 10,000, 50,000, whatever the number is. But no, if you're the majority, you're looking for a healthy, beautiful, pure romantic relationship. What does that mean? First of all, who am I talking to? I'm talking to you. I'm talking to individuals who ideally, while you even here watching this live stream, you're a spiritual person. You're an idealistic person. You're a person of virtue. Not everyone. I know we have some people, not many, about 3, I think, in our audience who are the opposite. That's all right. I'm not talking to you. You can listen for fun anyway. The majority of you who are listening right now, why are you here? You're here because you're a good person. You're here because you think. You're here because you have some wisdom and you want much more. You're here because, again, you are someone who you want to live a dharmic lifestyle. That being the case, now look for a spouse. Look for a true life partner. And let me make this clear, with the aim of getting married eventually. You know, there's no such thing as, oh, you just have a partner and you don't get married. No, you should aim to eventually get married. But look for someone who is virtuous. You know, today especially, it's interesting, again, in 2024, and this has been the case for a few decades now, and increasingly so, that people very rightfully complain about, oh, it's so hard to find someone. How do I find someone? Where do I go? What do I do? And it's tragic. We know this. And let me cut to the chase. The best way that you can find, if you're a man, that you can find a wonderful woman, if you are a woman, that you can find a wonderful man who you can marry and be happy with, is this is the number one criterion that you need to look for in that person. Find someone who is virtuous. You don't know what that means? Look it up. You still don't know what it means, having looked it up? Read the Vedic scriptures. Bhagavad Gita, very simple. Not Atharva Veda, not deeper, hard to read scriptures. No, read Bhagavad Gita, you'll know what virtue means. That simple. Find someone who shares in your life goals, and those life goals being to live a life of meaning, to live a life of purpose, to live a life dedicated to God, to live a life in which everyone who approaches you and is in your presence feels better for it. You live in such a way and do not settle for your life partner for anyone else other than someone who likewise, that's their goal. So seek this, seek this, seek this. Now, again, you'll see how we're going very nicely kind of in sequence. The fourth thing is you now must divinize your home. Make your home into a temple. You must divinize your home. Now that, oh, okay, you know, you've gone through your childhood, your teenage years, you've chosen a career, you've gotten your education, now you have found a wonderful person who you've married. Now you must make your home into a place that is like a temple. Oh no, it's a home, it's your home, it has all the practical things you need. You sleep there, you take your showers there, you eat there, etc., etc. But also, it must be a home that is geared in such a way that everything around you also helps you to grow spiritually. It is your ashrama. You know, it's interesting. Let me speak about this, again, strictly from a Vedic perspective. This is the Vedic understanding in accordance with Scripture, to the point where even Prabhupada, in many of his purports, he mentions this, what I'm about to explain. We know the word ashram, correct? It's actually ashrama. There's an A on the end Sanskritically. When we think of that word, what do we tend to think about? We tend to think of a place somewhere deep, in the countryside, let's say, where full-time yogis, full-time monks, nuns, etc., will live there under the tutelage of a guru, and they will grow spiritually, etc. That's what we tend to think of. And that's not incorrect. But interestingly, the word ashrama means much more than that. Again, according to the Vedic scriptures, a home is an ashrama. This is why when you're married, it's called grihasta ashrama. That is the term for being married. What does this mean? Your home is your family's ashrama, and it must operate as an ashrama. What does this mean? Again, your home is like a temple. Let me talk about just a few specifics. How to make your home into a temple. Very practically. First and foremost, and these steps are important, in order to make your home into a temple, so thus to live, what's the topic of this talk, a dharmic lifestyle. Number one, you rid yourself of anything tamasic that is in that home. That's a given. That's understood. You want to have a life of success, of real success, not pretend success. You want to live a life in which your entire family and everything that you do is steeped in joy and health and success and happiness. Rid yourself of everything that is tamasic. And this means from the most basic and seemingly obvious to even subtler things. You have anything that fosters addiction there, you throw it into the garbage. You do not keep alcohol or cigarettes or what to speak of drugs in your home. These disappear. You throw them in the garbage immediately. It means anything around you that is tamasic, that is dark and evil. You have posters of horror movies or death metal bands or rap bands, etc. You have posters on your wall. You throw it away. You have CDs that are of like nature. I guess people don't have CDs anymore. Of course, I'm dating myself, not by much, like 15 years. Still, you throw those away. You throw those away. Take your, what are they? Nintendo, what's the other one? PS, whatever, PlayStations.
Xbox.
Thank you, Xbox. Yeah, I guess it's not, I am dating myself. You have your Xbox, you have your PS whatever. In the garbage. Foods, look at your foods. Oh, how deeply can we go into this? This can be the rest of my lecture for the next hour and a half, but it won't be. I'm just going to mention a few more things. Look at your foods. Oh, you must be vegetarian. You want to be Vedic? Don't pretend that you're Vedic. Don't pretend that you're a yogi. Don't pretend that you're following Dharma. Don't pretend that you're spiritual in any way if you're not vegetarian. That means you don't eat meat, fish, or eggs. The Vedic scriptures are very clear about this. There's no speculation. If you want to speculate, you're dishonest. You're lying. You're lying to yourself, and you just want to justify your lifestyle. I've given talks where I've quoted scripture after scripture after scripture after scripture after scripture, verse after verse after verse, where the Vedic scriptures don't play games. Very clear about this. You want to be spiritual, you are vegetarian. Period. So all the meats, either throw them away. You have pets, which is perfectly fine. You have a dog, you have a cat, they're meant to eat meat. You're not a dog or a cat. Take your meat, feed it to the dogs and cats, never eat meat again. And on and on and on. You get rid of the garbage in your home. That's number one. Number two, cleanliness. You make sure that at all times, every aspect of your home is clean. What does this mean? Oh, certainly physically, yes. It means that you clean up as much as you can. It means you sweep the floors. It means that you make sure everything is sanitized, again, in a sattvic way. Not with crazy chemicals necessarily, but in a sattvic way. You make sure that the appearance of everything is beautiful. By cleanliness is meant also cleanliness for the eyes. You make sure that there is beauty in your home in every way, etc. The next thing is you fill your home with spiritual items. So the very converse of getting rid of the tamasic. Now you add beauty, but meaningful beauty, to your home. Now you add images of spiritual scenes everywhere. It means that, oh, you have your home altar and you make sure that your altar is beautiful and you have the murtis there. It means whenever you can, even small things. It means that you have flowers in your home whenever you can. This is going to make the wives out there especially happy. Are you a husband? Make sure you bring flowers to your wives as often as you can. And there are flowers in the home. Etc., etc. Oh, and I can go on, but you're getting the idea. And then I mentioned an altar. This is the last thing I'm going to say as far as divinizing your home, making your home into a temple. Oh, make sure you have a home altar. There's no such thing as, again, being a serious spiritual family unless you have a home altar. Let me tell you, I love our Indian Hindu dharmis. I have known over the years thousands of Indian Hindus. I have visited the homes of hundreds over the last, just maybe 30 years alone. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Indian Hindu homes I have visited. And what is one of the common denominators that I've always seen? You go into the home of even a semi-religious Hindu family, they have a home altar. No excuse. They have a home altar. It can be small, or I've seen some so big they could practically be a mini temple. They'll take an entire room and make it their little home temple. And the family comes and they gather before the murtis and they'll do different things. They'll read from the scriptures, they'll do kirtan, etc. But establish a home altar. Oh, but I live in a one-bedroom apartment. It doesn't matter. If you live in a studio apartment without even a bedroom, you can have a home altar. It can be this big. It can be that big. Or it can be, again, as big as a room. It doesn't matter. Just have a clean space. Have even little murtis or a little image of some sort. It can be a picture. And each day, have that be the center of your spiritual life. You offer, even if you can, 1 stick of incense, and that's where you do your meditation. You want to know how to establish a home altar and then how to worship at that altar? You purchase this book, Sanatana Dharma, The Eternal Natural Way. And we have an entire section where we explain step by step how to do this. Very good. Now let's go on with just a few more items. And I'm going to go through this a little bit quicker now because I don't want to take up too much time. Engage primarily in sattvic activities as much as you can. What does this mean? This gets back to divinizing your home. Well, more, you have to divinize your life, not just your home. So even when you're outside of your beautiful temple home compound and you're at work, you're anywhere, do everything as sattvically as possible. That is, unlike the media tries to make us think that this is the majority of people. It's not. It's the majority of media people, maybe. People who work for the media, so they think this extends to everyone else. A lot of people think that, oh, the common lifestyle in America is wandering when you're not working from bar to bar to bar, and that's what everyone does. You party, party, party. Party, as I've said many times, has gone from being a noun to a verb. You know, a party used to be, it was a noun, it was a party. I was going to someone's birthday party. Now it's a verb. I party, meaning I do something. I go to some place and get drunk and whatever else. No. Choose to live a sattvic lifestyle with everything that you do. You want to do things outside the home? Oh, entertainment is fine. Choose that entertainment, which is wonderful. Again, go out into nature. Try to breathe some air. What is the saying now, which I love? Touch grass. Seriously, touch grass. Go into some place with pristine nature. Take your shoes off. Walk on the grass. Breathe in. Look around you. Listen to those beautiful birds chirping, etc., etc. Listen to the wind as it blows through the trees. Let's go on. Educate your family spiritually and do things spiritually together as much as possible. This is what leads to a cohesive family. You know, even in modern day pop Christianity, they have this saying, the family that prays together stays together. And that's, you know, a very common saying, to the point where some people even make fun of it because it sounds trite. Interestingly, it's not. Interestingly, even research, and again, I have a PhD in religious studies, in philosophy of religion. I've seen the research, actually. Research has shown that it's true. When you have a family that has prayer and God and spiritual things in the center, that tends to be a healthier environment for the children, for the family as a whole. So make sure that as much as possible, yourself and with the children, you try to do spiritual things together as much as possible. Remember a short time ago, I was explaining that the typical religious Indian Hindu family, they will do things as a family. They'll gather in front of their altar. Well, as dharmis, we are all meant indeed to do that as well. Next, live as close to nature as possible. And more, conversely, leave the big cities. I cannot make this clear enough. In fact, if anything, I always bemoan the fact that I don't make this clearer. Let me make this clear. And let me start with this before I talk about going into nature. Let me start with this. Are you living in New York City right now? And trust me, I know of what I speak. I was born in New York City, and I lived there for the first 24 years of my life. And after I left there, I lived in Chicago for 7 years. So trust me, I know big cities, probably better than most. Do you live in New York City right now? Do you live in Chicago right now? Do you live in Houston? Do you live in Dallas? Do you live in Los Angeles? Do you live in Portland? Do you live in Boston? Do you live in the Twin Cities in Minnesota? Etc., etc., etc. Oh, let's go overseas. Do you live in London? Oh, do you live in Paris? Do you live in fill in the blank, any massive demonic hellhole of a city, leave. Let me make this clear. Leave that place. It's going to be almost impossible for you to grow spiritually there. Only New Age people think that they can. And they talk about, oh, being an urban monk, urban shaman, urban this, urban that. Silliest concepts. No. You want to be spiritual? Put yourself in an environment that is not anti-spiritual. The big demonic cities today are anti-spiritual. They are geared to be. They are designed to be the opposite of the spiritual. Leave. No, and as I always have to say, not like a crazy person, oh, I'm going to pack my bags today and get on the closest train to wherever. No. Intelligently, plan, but when you can, try to live in as rural an area as you can. Homestead. If you can. Do you have the money? Can you raise the money? Try to get some land somewhere and try to live as sattvic a life as possible, as close to nature as you can. And again, this differs from person to person. For some people, you really want to, you won't be able to for a few years. That's all right. Work toward that. That is the point. Some people can do it today. I know I'm speaking right now to individuals, especially in the audience. I know some of you are millionaires because I know you. You have the money. Get out of New York. Get out of Boston. Get out of London right now and try to live as close to nature as possible. Very good. Let's go on. Live as naturally and organically, healthily as possible. This also is how you live a Dharma lifestyle. What does this mean? This means, and of course, I have to be very careful with what I say. I can't say everything. So let me just say this. Try to live as organically as you can. What does this mean? Oh, if you can afford it, and not all of us can, but eat as much organic food as you can. Certainly eat as much healthy food as you can. Try to avoid anything that has, more than how many chemicals on the ingredients? What's a good number? Anything that has more than 3 items, let's say, something like that. If you want to purchase something to eat and you look at the box and the ingredients has 30 things, oh, don't buy it. Don't eat it. When it comes to medicine, try to be as natural as possible. Go to a hospital, if God forbid you're in a car accident or something like that, then sure. Otherwise, try to treat yourself naturally with herbs, with supplements, etc., as naturally as possible, indeed with food itself. So try to live as organically and naturally as you possibly can. Just a few more things, actually. In fact, we're almost done. Support, but only from your abundance, not if it is something that's going to harm you financially. Support from your abundance, Vedic causes, movements, temples, etc. So from your abundance. So again, you have lived on this earth for some time. You indeed have had some success. You are living comfortably. You have plenty of money in the bank, etc., etc. Do your best to now extend that abundance to Dharma itself, to supporting those individuals, those institutions, those movements, those temples, etc., that are fostering and restoring Dharma to this world. And in helping those who are helping Dharma, you can help in either way, either financially or with your volunteer work, or certainly with both. In the ISDS, we're so fortunate we have so many people, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of individuals who actually do both. They're members of the ISDS, they tithe, but they also actually volunteer and they help in whatever way they can. So this is another way in which you divinize your life. And again, do this of your abundance. Not that, oh, you're living paycheck to paycheck, you barely have enough food to even eat, and you're expected to give money. If you're a member of a religion, let me just state this, and they don't care that you yourself can barely afford to feed your family, and they pressure you, oh, donate, get away from that institution. That's not a true religion. A true religion will say, please only donate, again, from your abundance. You have a lot, and thus you can give. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to say is, what is the gist of everything that we've been speaking about? Simple living and high thinking. Oh, this is something that Prabhupada would repeat again and again and again. That this is how we have a Dharma lifestyle. Simple living and high thinking. In other words, what's meant by simple living? Again, not the stereotype, not that we're living in a cave, but that we understand what are the important things of life. That we understand God is in the center, and that we are to, in every way, spiritualize everything that we're doing. Have, just live in a way where, indeed, we know what our priorities are, but at the same time, high thinking. In other words, live with wisdom. So thus, the goal of the Dharma lifestyle is to have a family that prospers in every way, spiritually and materially. That is the goal. That is the goal. That is the goal. And in this way, we can live our lives in 2024 in such a manner that, despite the nature of our age, despite, indeed, not just despite, but in the very face of modernity, we are living a life of Dharma, a life in which God is in the center of our lives, and at the same time, we can also materially have everything that we need. We can have prosperity and happiness on every level. Very good. So with that, I thank you all very, very much for listening. We're about 8 minutes past the hour, so let me tell people this. Due to the fact that, indeed, this took a little bit of time, I'm not going to take questions today. However, next week, next Sunday, it will be exclusively Q&A. Exclusively questions and answers for 1 hour. So again, I apologize that we ran out of time. We won't have time to take any questions today. But despite that, again, next week, if you have questions, please come back, and you can please feel free to ask any questions that you have, either about what we spoke about today or any aspect of Sanatana Dharma. And again, before we leave, just to remind you, please visit our website when you can, dharmacentral.com. Please feel free to join our Discord server, and again, the information is already here in the chat. And with that, again, I thank you all very much for being here. I hope that you will be able to join us next Sunday. Namaste. And everyone together. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
May Dharma be victorious. Evam Bhavatu. May it be so. And with that, everyone, until now and the next time that we get together, I ask you all to please take very good care of yourselves in every way.